So welcome back to the Kirk Miller podcast. Today I have a great friend of mine and someone who, to be really honest off the bat, is currently trying to fix a few issues in mind and body, trying to revolutionize the my way of thinking with health and body, and look at things a little bit differently, aren't you? And that is a fantastic Kris Rai. Said that properly?
That's great.
Yeah. So Kris, first of all, welcome to the Kirk Miller podcast. On this podcast, I'm always trying to bring on people with a unique way of looking at things, whether it's in business, whether it's in health, or just life in general. People who are really at the top of their game. And for those of you listening to this today, I can safely say Kris is a genuine expert in his field, in osteopath. I know it's on your Instagram. Was it naturopath? Can you explain?
Yeah, also a naturopath.
Yeah. I want to pick. I'm sure people are thinking, "What is that?" Right? And you are also the founder of an unbelievable health, wellness, recovery center. I mean, called Joint Space. I mean, it's absolutely exceptional. For anyone based in Dubai, you're going to struggle to beat it. And it's certainly, where I've been visiting and will be visiting a lot more to get Kris's help. So, first of all, Kris, just introduce, who are you and what do you do?
Yep. Well, thank you for having me, Kirk. It's great to be on the podcast. And I met the community, maybe 3 weeks ago now at the Built to Last event. And it was great to be around Kirk's community and what he's built. It's fantastic. So it's good to be on the
Thank you so much.
Been in Dubai now for 10 years. I graduated as an osteopath and a naturopath. Just to clarify, naturopath is natural medicine. So you're looking at the human relationship to nature and how you can use natural remedies in order to create health and wellness. I worked a lot in sports, actually. So I graduated 2007, so some time ago now. Mm-hmm. And then along the way, I've studied lots of different things where I worked, graduated obviously as an osteopath to begin with. Then I trained with Paul Chek. Then I trained with the Gray Institute.
He's like a guru in that.
Yeah. I mean,
legend,
for me, when I graduated, I wasn't 100% sure about what it was I was doing, actually. I had a moment in my career where do I really want to be an osteopath? And actually, when I've met Paul Chek and his team, and I studied with them, it really sort of turned a lot of light bulbs on. And he obviously has a very sports-orientated approach, and then he has a very holistic wellness-orientated approach. Actually, the two of them gave me something to add into my practice. Osteopathy itself is a very holistic approach, but sometimes it's not always so easy to implement the philosophy. So you have to learn from other places in order to add those things in. Then I trained with the Gray Institute in the US, which is a fantastic place for functional biomechanics, understanding the body in motion. So you can see how everything is really connected. And that sort of informed a lot of my understanding of movement and how I view patients when they're working with me, or the students when they're working with me. And then I trained with functional neurology also, so understanding central processes with the brain and the central nervous system and how all of that is governing how we move. Most recently, in the last sort of 10 years or so, I work with Josef Frušek. He's a very inspirational teacher of mine, and he has a fighting monkey practice. And the fighting monkey practice is what brings everything together into a practice form which covers all of the technical learnings that I've had in my career from being an osteopath to now. And that's what shapes a lot of my viewpoint now. And then I introduce Chinese principles from Western medicine, Chinese medicine, and then we create this approach that's, been working on for some time.
So you've done a lot.
But still feels sometimes not enough.
No, I get it. But why? Why have you been so fascinated to look at things a little bit differently or add all of these strings to your bow, which for a lot of people listening to this, maybe even health experts and even coaches like myself, they'll be thinking, okay, but why? Why were you so fascinated to explore the different ways of helping people?
I think that I feel like I have a purpose in order to be able to understand this concept of like singularity. Like if people are coming to work with me, what is my mission? What is my purpose? And, originally it's sort of based around anthropology. So everything returns back to this idea of anthropology, understanding like how and why we move, how and why we live our life. And then from understanding anthropology, then you can take nuances from different cultures to try and create an approach. And the reason why I have this approach is because I'm trying to understand what the purpose of everything actually is. of course I have, so who are we? Who am I? And how I can use these approaches to really enhance people's lives and my own life and my family's life. And of course that never stops because you learn something that opens the door to something else. And then that opens the door to something else. And then actually what's happened is that I came from very technical understanding of the human body.
Yeah.
And now it's a little bit more esoterical.
Can you explain that?
So it's like where I go from, I have a nice understanding of the nuts and bolts of how the body operates. Yeah. I understand how everything is connected within the body in terms of the different systems. When we think about the organs and we think about the musculoskeletal system and how it moves in a way. And now and then once you get through that, you start, okay, there's more than that. How are things working? We start to think about frequencies and all of these other more esoteric forms of understanding human experience. And then you can start to tie these things together. So question is, why I do the things that I do. I'm not actually 100% sure yet.
Okay.
I'm not actually 100% sure, but I know that the path is going in a direction which will reveal itself. But it's always a quest for knowledge, and a quest for knowledge and how to apply that to my life and apply it to my students' life and my patients' lives.
Yeah. So you've got all these strings to your bow, Kris. And obviously now you're putting that into a business. With the type of people you treat, for example, myself, like, I run a business. I love my training. You've got other people and things to think about in life. What are the biggest things you see in people like myself and your patients that you see is a flaw in the modern society of the way people are operating and that are causing these problems that you're then trying to fix?
I mean, I guess given the sort of different approaches that I've learned, it's quite nice that I can apply it to different situations and different people. Yeah. So it's very important to meet people where they are, where they're at. In terms of how you use these approaches for modern life, this is the question, right? This is for modern life, right?
Yeah.
Firstly, you have to meet people where they're at, and you don't want to give people too much information. So you have to slowly feed them into the idea of how we can change things. One of the biggest issues is that life is very fast, and we struggle with connection and the ability to observe ourselves.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's because just the way in which our Western culture has been industrialized over such a long period of time, maybe the last 100 years, whereby your level of productivity is more important than understanding of who you are. You need to be productive all the time. And if you're not being productive, then you're not doing it right. But in other cultures, in Chinese philosophy, you need to avoid that because that's how you become more productive. You create space to be able to allow things to happen. But probably we don't allow that to happen. We always have to be doing something in order to get to where it is that we're going, rather than just standing still for a moment and then seeing what unfolds in front. And that's a little bit in answer to the previous question when you asked me how do I not know exactly what I'm doing? So I allow that space because I know that if I allow the space, something will show me which direction I need to go.
Rather than trying to be too stressed about trying to know every answer to everything and know everything that's going to happen. Yeah. You're just waiting for that real life feedback to know what do I need to do and who am I trying to be to solve whatever problem it is.
So when patients come and see me, they're presenting to me with a number of different complaints. And the more you listen, which is always very important, you can start to hear and feel the truism with what it is they're really trying to tell you. I have somebody who's got chronic low back pain, they've got knee pain, they've got digestive issues, they have stress problems. Now I have to peel those layers back and understand where is that coming from. And always is to do with how we're living our lives ultimately. And then if you go back to how we're living our lives, then suddenly you start thinking about, okay, well, what happened to us when we were younger? And then you add layers.
So you're saying there's so many other things that we need to look beneath the bonnet of why, for example, and there'll be many people listening to this, Kris, who have regular back issues, bad shoulder, bad neck, bad knees, bad hamstrings like I've currently got now. And on a surface level, and this is what I love about the way you look at things, Kris, on a surface level, you'll go and see a physio or you'll see a doctor and you've got a bad knee, bad back, rest, or just do this. You'll have a massage and that'll fix it. But you're saying there's a lot of other things that people aren't probably even aware of, let alone even think of as a possible solution.
And sometimes those modalities is what, maybe that's all they're ready to hear at that moment. That's all they want to do.
Yeah.
I can present any level of things, but that person's maybe not ready to listen to those things.
Yeah.
Right. So at the time, maybe the person who did see the doctor, that actually the best thing they need to do is just rest. And it doesn't have to be any more complicated than that. Or a massage, just touch. That's enough for that person at that time. So it's reading the room and understanding where they are also is very important.
But long term, that's not the solution.
No, exactly. So as somebody begins to understand who they are a little bit more.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is you have to be able to, in order to find health, it's a journey, right? And you have to start the journey somewhere. And it's always about discovery. And then the more you understand yourself and you can take stock of who you are, how you live your life, all these details, then you can start to add many more things into that. And then the person is ready to have a discussion about that, to work on those things. And then you can approach that in lots of different ways. So somebody comes to me with knee pain and back pain. Okay, the first thing I will do is I'll assess how they walk. Right? Okay. And then I'll see, okay, well, fine. So I can see how you walk. But also when I watch them walk, I can pick up their emotion, their personality. There's so many different things that I can see just from body language. So
and that's through some of the training that you've done, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So I can see how somebody's walking, but maybe their back pain is determined by how they're walking.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe it's their posture, how they move.
Yeah.
And then that's influenced by many different layers, and I can see that. But then I see the patient and I can register, I can get where they are. I'm not going to go into that yet.
Yeah.
I'll be like, your hip is restricted on one side.
You need to get buy-in first.
Yeah, exactly. You have to recognize what they're looking for, what they think they're looking for, and then work with that, gain their trust, get them to understand you, and then you can start to develop these ideas.
Yeah. How much, not how much, what do you think the biggest problem is that's causing people like me, even in the last couple of weeks, to technically my body broke down a little bit the last couple of weeks, with probably pushing too hard in business and the body, and then trying to run events, etc. What do you think the most common pattern is, or the common reason for people picking up injuries, getting ill, or just having physical pain of some sort? How much does emotion and lifestyle play into that?
That's always a very nuanced question. Like we discussed before, people are trying to do too much. There are a lot of issues that they have to discover, understand about themselves. Diet obviously plays a large part in that. You have to see the human body as either as a yin and yang. So
because just to give people some context, didn't you say this to me yesterday? You got the yang curve.
Exactly. We need to build a little bit the other side of it, right? Exactly. Yeah. So if you're giving energy all the time, if you're pushing all the time, that you have to find a way to be able to regenerate that.
Elaborate on that, because I know there's so many people listening to this, Kris, business owners who are like me. You're pushing, and like you said to me yesterday, you're not trying to take that away, but just like you said to me yesterday, at some point that natural energy, that willpower, that if you're pushing is gonna be compromised.
Exactly. If you want, it's like the cycles. One of the things we mentioned at the Built to Last is when you're looking at your daily rhythm, and you look at the seasonal rhythm, and you look at the annual rhythm. So your day follows a pattern. There are certain times in the day where your hormones are at the right time to push. But there are other times of the day where your body has to settle. That's always in the morning, first thing, and then it's always in the evening. So, for example, don't train in the evening, under bright lights, heavy exercise, because that's not the natural rhythm of the human body. So if you're pushing yourself during the day, you have to find time either side of that day for yourself. That's not about developing business or developing physicality, because there's different ways that you can do that. You have to find time for regeneration, and you have to find time to develop, like to do inner work, which a lot of people are doing. Rising with the sun, slowing down when the sun is setting. So just these basic things that we can do.
When you say do the inner work, give the listeners some examples, because I know there's so many different things that you listen to, and it can be quite confusing sometimes. But what would you... how would you evaluate inner work? What is it?
So inner work can be a number of different things. It can be either you're being still, whether that's a meditation practice, whether it's a standing practice, which is one of the things that we teach in our practice, with breath work. So you can add in all the different myriad of breathing methods that are out there. And again, the human body is very dynamic. So what's the best breathing method? Well, there are many. It looks what you're trying to achieve. Adding something like a breathwork practice in, it doesn't have to be very long. It can be 10 minutes worth, And in that breathwork practice, you can do it standing or you can do it sitting. So you create the space to be able to explore quiet work, inner work. That could be journaling, just writing your thoughts down on paper. It can be standing in the sun so that you can use the sun to regenerate yourself also, grounding, letting your feet touch the actual earth itself.
Why is that important?
Well, we have 200,000 receptors at the bottom of our feet, and we have one very powerful acupuncture point at the bottom of your feet. And as an electrical or frequential being, when you put your feet on the earth, you conduct electrons. So inflammation a lot of the time will creates positively charged ions, and we need negatively charged ions in order to be able to manage that inflammation. And most of those negatively charged ions are stored in the bone marrow. But in life, we're surrounded by so much like, EMF and electricity, and very few people actually touch the earth. You don't have a chance to recharge those reservoirs of negatively charged ions. So when you put your foot on the ground, the earth's crust is negatively charged. So then you get this recharge of these ions, which then helps to manage inflammation. That's on like a physics way. Then you have different bioresonances that are happening at the same time. Right? So the grounding is very important. That's why people feel so good when they go to nature. That's why they feel so good when they take their shoes off and in the forest. But we're so programmed decultured that you see people on the beach with their shoes on. Or you go for a nice walk in the forest and your shoes are on. So you're missing a large part of the benefit of that.
Yeah. And then how much in your experience and from all you're studying, does someone's emotional well-being impact physiology?
I mean, it's probably one of the biggest things in the end. A lot of people that are on the go all the time, pushing themselves, are usually having something that they're moving away from, equally moving towards something at the same time, but often they might be running away from something also.
What do you mean? Is that what you were talking about, like past traumas and
So going forwards is great when you've dealt with what's behind you, but sometimes we haven't dealt with what's behind us and we're still running forward. So that can also create imbalances and dysfunction too. And a lot of the issues that I see with my patients, like maybe they're coming from some previous trauma, right? And that's what's informing. You have the gut-brain axis, you have the brain communicating with the digestive system, and you have the digestive system communicating with the brain through all the bacteria that's there. So if you're highly stressed or you've dealt with a lot in your life, or you're going through a tough time and it's been a long time and you haven't really dealt with it, then that can later on manifest in other issues, musculoskeletal issues that are based on first a stress response, chronic stress response over a long period of time, maybe multiple chronic stress responses over the years, and then you start to find that your gut health starts to change, and then that can lead into other issues.
I suppose all of this can affect people's body composition as well at the same time, because if things behind the scenes aren't working well, then you're not going to digest food properly. You're certainly not going to be able to train properly. And
for sure, absolutely, and that will also affect your immunity. So if we push too hard all the time, then our immune system becomes a bit more vulnerable. If we're not sleeping very well, our immune system.
What are the signs that your immune system is becoming? People listening, what are the signs that maybe your immune system is becoming a little bit more vulnerable, or your body maybe is a little bit inflamed? Because maybe this was a telltale sign. What happened to me before High Rocks it was interesting. You just said there, Kris, at the start when you said, when I seen you 2.5 weeks before High Rocks, you'd done certain tests, and I don't mind you sharing that with the listeners, and you did certain tests which revealed X, Y, Z, but you didn't want to tell me everything at that point because you knew my head was at a certain place, so you just gave me certain information.
But that's important. That's why you have to read the room. If I tell you everything there, it takes your mindset out of what you need to do. But I knew that there was a finish line right there, whereby Kirk's going to be done in 2.5 weeks' time. When he comes back, then we can start to explore these, because he'll have a period of time that he can actually make adjustments, as opposed to asking him to make a lot of changes before something important.
But what did you notice? I remember when you were looking at my nerves, my digestive system. What did you notice?
looking back now, we went through a lot of things.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, I think I know
So-
the feedback to Gabby was Kirk's pushing the boundaries of every.
That's for sure. Yeah. He's on like a man on the edge.
You call me a pit bull, didn't you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're like a pit bull. Exactly. Yeah. The irony.
The pit bull. So Kris has got a dog called Pecan. Such a delicate name.
Yeah.
Pit bull.
Yeah, pit bull. Yeah. He's very friendly. Yeah,
very
especially
friendly.
to Kirk.
Yes. But no, you. The reason that I wanted you to share that, Kris, is honestly, look, me as a coach. That's why one of the reasons I got you on this podcast as well, and even just shared at the community. I think as coaches, and me as a coach, listen, I've got many strengths, and a lot of coaches out there got many strengths. But I think it's also, and this is what I want to bring more attention to the listeners and clients and things like that. Demonstrate leadership that, I don't always get it right. And also even though people look up to me for maybe pushing the boundaries of physical, of professional, of everything else, there's a cost to that when you overstep the line. And I think I have the last couple of months, and I think there's a lot of people listening to this who continually run through fire to chase that next deal, that meet that needs of the next client, etc., without seeing signs that.
And I think that also, it's not that when you add these things into your life that you stop doing that.
Yeah.
Right. You can still achieve all the same things. It's just about preserving yourself. It's about giving yourself more of an insurance policy, whereby I can actually achieve the things that I want to achieve instead of burning out. It doesn't take much, because we live in a culture which is more is more is better. The faster you do it, the better it is. But really, that's not really the case, right? You can do things slower and get there faster. You can take your time and still get there ahead of where you were before.
Just from turn
the volume down at certain times of the day.
Yeah.
So you know that you create a practice. That's why when we teach, we call it a practice. Like when we think about exercise and practice, it's two different things, right? So exercise is a moment in time whereby you do something in order to change your physiology, let's say. Whereas a practice is something where you wake up in the morning and you go to sleep at night, and it's through the whole day. And that's how you manage these different layers of what it is that you do. Train as you would do normally. But if you're going to expend a lot of energy, then you have to take care of the back end of the body in order to be like, okay, fine, I can use all of that. I can push, but I have to make sure that I regenerate and do these other
What are the telltale signs that you see in people like myself and the people that come to see you? What are the telltale signs that you know something's not right and they are pushing on the verge of burnout or adrenal fatigue and things like that?
I mean, you've got like maybe poor recovery from injury, right? So they don't recover particularly fast, or they have multiple low-grade issues. They're not sleeping well, so you can read it on their body language. They might have digestive issues as well on top of that. General fatigue, difficult to get out of bed in the morning. Those are usually the main sort of things. And then there's other symptoms which you see, but in terms of like quality of life, it's like attention span, cognitive, like how can you focus? Can you focus well? I really could focus before. Now I'm struggling to focus so much anymore, these type of small telltale signs.
What would be the first step that you would tell, other than see you, but say if someone can't see you, like for listeners, some of the listeners, what would be the first step or piece of advice you would give to them if they are experiencing some of those things that you've just said? Because I think it's so common and prevalent. What would be the first step? Would it be to take stock, reach out? What would you say?
I mean, there's different things that you can do. You can either take a moment to try and instigate some of these other practices, right? So that if you feel that way, you feel those symptoms, then you can, in the morning when you get up, you spend half an hour just to sit and breathe. That in itself will allow your autonomic nervous system to just calm down a bit more. Yeah, that will help some things, and it will also give you time to reflect on all these other things. Then there are other health practitioners as you can see. In my clinic where I have naturopaths and functional medicine practitioners. Yeah, and there will likely be one close by to where your community is. Yeah, so you can go and see somebody like that who will be able to evaluate these things and give you advice and help you in that direction. That's usually a great place to start because they will be able to look at you very holistically, like we do at Joint Space, and give you tools to be able to work with the issues that you might be facing.
No, perfect. Can you just explain a little bit as well, because I can't articulate, I'll stay in my lane here, about the different nervous systems. You've got you could push, you got your pull, you got the stuff behind the scenes, your parasympathetic nervous system. Can you just explain a little bit about that and the difference?
So I suppose a good one for the guys to have a good understanding of would be your autonomic nervous system.
Yeah.
So the autonomic nervous system is it's like your involuntary system. It works with fight or flight, which people will probably know the term. You have your sympathetic system, and then you have your rest and digest, which is your parasympathetic system. And these two work in harmony together. Mm-hmm. Now, if a lion is chasing you all day long, it's not ideal. So your sympathetic system is on overdrive. You're in fight or flight.
And mode. That's where I've been.
That's where it's where you've been, and a lot of people are there. Mm-hmm. But actually, it's supposed to be the other way around. You're supposed to have moments of the tiger chasing you, and then most of the time you're at rest. But we live in a life where the tiger is constantly behind us, chasing us down. And then maybe, if we're lucky, we'll give ourselves some time in the parasympathetic side of the system. And that is the system which allows you to heal, regenerate, manage your emotions, all of these things, also recover from training. All of these things, you can apply them to different elements. It can be, if it's training based, you need to take rest in order to be able to train harder, to recover better from injury, to make sure you don't get injured. Yeah.
If someone's working, say they work 60 hours a week, they've got 3 kids, but they still love training hard, and time is genuinely a challenge, and they're going, okay, Kris, I totally understand that, I'm on board with this, and I can't completely flip this, those two nervous systems.
Yeah.
What would you say to them about what they can do, or what would be your...
You just described to me. Right? Just described me.
Okay.
I work 60 hours a week. I have 2 kids. So if I can do it...
Okay, what do you do?
Yeah.
How do you do it?
You have to, so obviously being in a family is a selfless role.
Yeah.
Being a parent is a selfless role. So, your role is to provide for your family. That's how I see it. And provide for my team and the people in my community. But in order for me to be able to do that properly, I also have to look after myself. And looking after myself is training, right? But I have to think, okay, well, fine. My energy levels are precious. My time is precious. I need to find time in a routine that's there every day that's mine. And the only time you can guarantee that is either before the kids wake up or after the kids go to bed. So I always choose before the kids get up, because that's my time whereby no one can touch that. Mm. Work hasn't started. My phone isn't on. No one can touch me in that period of time. So I get up earlier. I do it when the sun goes up, and then I take my time and I walk the dog. I walk Pecan, and then I will do my own personal practices in that time. So it's you just have to find the time, because people find the time for things that they love to do. And eventually, once you find that time and you understand how valuable it is, then it becomes very important. It's very easy to do.
Because of what it gives you back for the people you love, and the deeper meaning behind what you're actually doing. Because there might be some people who go, okay, but work to provide for my family. Yeah. But what you just said there hit the nail on the head. You might be able to provide for them financially, but can you bring the best of who you are emotionally and mentally?
Absolutely. You have to develop what we call like an energetical surplus. How do you create as much abundance of energy as possible in order to be able to distribute that energy how you need it to? Whether that's to your employees, or whether that's to your wife or husband, or whether that's to your children, or whoever it may be. How do you generate that abundance of energy? And you can't generate that abundance if you're constantly pushing all the time. It's not possible. You will run into a brick wall. So you have to find other ways to be able to dig the well. You dig the well before you run out of water, right? If you go to the well and it's dry, then you got to now dig a well. It's going to take you a long time, and you're going to, so you dig the well before you're thirsty. And that's the best way to think about how you can protect yourself as you're aging, and look after your body in the best way, and then also, give the right time and connection to the people around you who matter the most.
That's absolute gold. Do you want to admit? I'm conscious of your time today, mate, but that I think just hits the absolute nail on the head. I really do, Kris, because I genuinely think, I fell into this trap too, but a lot of the people that I coach or who inquire to coach to work with us, it's just so surface level where people look sometimes, and I think people just genuinely forget why they're doing what they're doing. You know, with the chasing business, growing business, creating wealth. Look, we all want that. I get that. But I just think we live in a society now where there's just there's masses and millions who just don't find that time, and they're so aware of the pain if they can't financially provide or go on nice holidays or buy nice things, that we just forget the asset that looks after everything. And it's that present parent, for example, in your case, that your kids really want, right? I'm sure they don't really care about, even though I'm sure they will in the future, about your joint space projects and things like that. They just want an energized present.
Yeah, absolutely. And then that's my responsibility. My responsibility to look after myself in order that I can look after my children, because they don't want an expensive birthday present. They want their parents to be around when they need them there, right? If I don't have the energy to be able to share with them, then I know that I will regret that in the future.
No, absolutely. I know you might not have all the answers just now, but what is the immediate mission, or with what you're doing professionally, you know, with Joint Space, and what's the goal? There was obviously a why behind it before you created it, but what is the goal? Where do you want to be different?
I think that the purpose of Joint Space was to be able to create a journey for people where they go from being a patient to becoming a student, so to speak, right? And that journey can be different for different people. But in the end, you're looking to share a message and a philosophy that people with time will buy into, and you can certainly see the effects of that. And then beyond Joint Space is to how do we then share the message more? And it's, how do you get the knowledge out there to as many people as possible? And obviously that's being with and talking to people like yourself and being part of the Built to Last community and all of the other things that we're doing. And being able to inform and offer people the knowledge that we have, to open other spaces, perhaps in other countries, with maybe a slightly different purpose, maybe more of a wellness center, retreat-based, education-based. So how do you get the message out there? And that's what we're working towards.
Yeah. Why? What's the why behind what you do?
I mean, look, there is different things. I said to Pav the other day, my wife, I do these things for you guys, but I also do them for myself, right? Because I want to be able to leave a legacy behind. I also I really want to make change, and really be able to allow people to, because the world itself is in a bit of trouble, and it's in a bit of trouble because people who are making decisions at the end of their tether, because the quality of their life could be better, right? And if they had more energetical surplus, then they would be able to make better decisions. And then that would help all of us. And I think that if you have a mission whereby you're trying to create the environment or the knowledge that allows people to make better decisions, to create better energetical surplus, then we're all going to benefit from that,
No, awesome. Mate, I could talk to you for hours. I'm definitely going to get you on again, 100%. There's absolute gold there. Where can people find you and check you out?
Sure. I mean, there's the Joint Space website, jointspace.ae, and then there's me on Instagram. You find me on Kris Rai, and then you have the Joint Space DXB Instagram as well. So you can reach out to me on any one of those. Yeah.
And where is the Joint Space location? Again, it's in a really cool district.
Yeah, we're in Al Sakal Avenue.
Yeah.
Which is in Al Quoz. It's a really nice place. It's sort of a arts and creative, and there's a couple of other clinics there, and this is a nice spot.
No, it really is impeccable, and I'm on a personal front, Kris, as well. Just really looking forward to learning from you, to really evolve with some of the things you shared today on not just the physical side, but the spiritual, the emotional side. I love how deep you go on that. And one thing I love about Kris is he genuinely does look beneath the bonnet, because I think the more I've learned about coaching and really been fascinated, Kris, by why people do what they do, why I do what I do, and etc. You realise there's a lot more things that are driving us and influencing that pain you have, or that physical outcome that you have or haven't achieved. And I think it's fascinating. So I'm really looking forward to learning about that with you, and being a bit more even smarter with my push and pull philosophy, and definitely collaborating for sure on many great things with Built to Last and Joint Space. So please check him out. He's one of the smartest people I've come across in decades in the health and fitness industry. So thank you so much again, Kris. And guys, I'll see you next time.